What is up, guys? That's it here with another edition of the Sanctuary Sunday. Today we'll talk about one event that shook Diablo's history, the Dark Exile. Learn what happened when the Primes walked Sanctuary. In truth, it is difficult to speak authoritatively about the event known as the Dark Exile, as it is alleged to have taken place in the burning hells, far from mortal eyes. In any case, the Dark Exile refers to a civil war that raged within the burning hells between the prime and lesser evils. It is said that the motivation for this conflict was the lesser evil's fury over the primes having abandoned the eternal conflict in favor of weaponizing humankind's Nephilim potential. Believing that they were innately superior to mortal kind and that their war against the high heavens was theirs alone to fight, the lesser evils enacted a brilliant stratagem to overthrow the primes. Led by Azmodan, the Lord of Sin, and Belial, the Lord of Lies, the rebel demons claimed dominion over much of the burning hells. To their credit, the prime evils fought with devastating power, annihilating a third of hell's treacherous legions. But in the end, weakened and bodiless, the primes were banished to the mortal realm, where Azmodan hoped they would remain trapped forever. Furthermore, Azmodan believed that with the three set loose upon humanity, the angels would be forced to turn their focus upon the mortal plane, thus potentially leaving the gates of heaven vulnerable to attack. One account of the Dark Exile states that the lesser evil's hour of triumph did not last long. Relations between Azmodan and Belial quickly soured as they began arguing over who should ascend to the highest rank of the burning hells. When the bickering turned to violence, their pact was forgotten. The remaining denizens of the hells found their support divided between the lesser evils, and before long, another bloody civil war was underway. Yet there are some who say that there was no falling out between Azmodan and Belial, and that they are conspiring to subjugate all life to their will. While it is more comforting to believe that they turned on each other, Cain submits that it is best for us to believe that the two were ever in league. Without being an expert on the inner workings of the high heavens, one can only imagine what it must have been like for Tyrael to discover that the prime evils had been banished to the unsuspecting world of men. By the time Tyrael learned the truth, the primes had already been wreaking havoc on Sanctuary for decades. Subtly, they had been turning brother against brother and nation against nation, inciting wars and unrest among the lands of Khagistan. Knowing that the Sin War had resulted in the sparing of humankind by a margin of 1 vote, Tyrael did not dare inform the Angiris Council that the powers of hell now threatened to corrupt humanity once again. He knew that somehow he had to intervene without alerting his angelic brethren and prevent the prime evils from influencing mortal men. On behalf of humankind, the Archangel of Justice would become the Maverick of Heaven. Much of what follows concerning the Horadrim comes from the writings passed down through Cain's family from his ancestor Jared Cain. The Horadrim were a band of mages drawn from the remnants of the scattered mage clans and empowered by the Archangel Tyrael to hunt down and contain the three prime evils. By the accounts of both Jared and his colleague Nortiraj, the original Horadrim were strangers, selected not due to any particular wisdom or reverence, but because they were those most likely to succeed in carrying out Tyrael's mission. The first group of Horadrim was small. Some say the number was 7, some say the number was 12. Both numbers might be correct, and it can be assumed that the mages brought with them escorts, apprentices, and others to assist on their mission. It is, however, known that their leader was a mage named Talrasha. From every account, he was a paragon of the Horadrim, a selfless and noble leader who held the order together through many of its darkest hours. Taking shards of the World Stone itself, Tyrael fashioned 3 soul stones, each imbued with the power to contain the essence of a prime evil. Jared Kane recounts that Mephisto's soulstone was sapphire, Baal's was amber, and Diablo's was a ruby. He also says that an intelligent and pious mage named Zoltan Kull was given the task of carrying the stones and capturing the demons' souls within them. For that task, most suited him. Though it is not explicitly stated, we can assume that Zoltan Kull was a mage of the highest order within the Ennead mage clan, almost certainly a master of alchemy, alteration, and transmutation. Before the Horadrim's founding, the prime evils had been spreading terror, hatred, and destruction among humankind for many years. It is known that the primes possessed the uncanny ability to inhabit the living bodies of humans, possibly even assuming the identities of political and religious figures to deceive and twist Kazakhstan's populace. Fortunately for the Horadrim, the soulstones were attuned to the demon's vile essences, allowing the mages to track down the primes even when their true forms were hidden within mortal shells. Ironically, it was Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred, believed to be the most intelligent of the prime evils, who was found and captured first, in or around one of the great urban centers of Kazakhstan. The fight cost many innocent lives, and the Horadrim vowed to avoid confronting another prime evil in a populated area. Once Mephisto's essence was trapped, his soulstone was given to the emergent order of the Zakarum by Talrasha, who knew that only they could be trusted with such a grim responsibility. Years later, the Zakarum would build the temple city of Travinkal in the same area, in the jungles near Kurast, in order to protect the soulstone. This would, of course, have dire consequences, as Mephisto's hatred would corrupt the noble religion over time. The task of hunting the primes was a daunting one, and the mages were undoubtedly confounded on many occasions, losing the demon's trail before picking up on it again. In time, Diablo and Baal journeyed west, over the Twin Seas, to the deserts of Aranok. The Horadrim remained in close pursuit. Baal took refuge inside the city of Lut Golain for 3 days, while Talrasha and the Horadrim patiently waited. The demon lord then fled north into the scorched wasteland. The harsh desert did not protect him from the Horadrim, for they were men as tenacious as they were prodigious in magic. The Lord of Destruction unleashed the fury of his powers upon them. The land exploded and fire erupted from the broken earth, burning everything and everyone in its path. The ground fell away and the combatants plummeted into a network of subterranean caverns. Still, the indomitable Horadrim pressed the attack. In a desperate attempt to survive, Baal hurled a devastating spell at Talrasha, shattering the Amber Soulstone. Nevertheless, the man fought on and subdued the raging demon lord. Talrasha, gathering the largest of the Soulstone's shards, trapped Baal's destructive essence within it. It should be noted that there is some controversy about how the Ember Soulstone was shattered. Even the studious Vizjerai mage, Nortiraj, has conflicting accounts in different documents about how this came to be. Yet another account, from a different source, states that it was the inability of one of the Horadrim, in particular Zoltan Kull, to properly handle the stone in battle that led to its breaking. Whatever the case, when Baal had been drawn into the shard, it became clear that the fragment by itself could not contain his essence forever. In a profound moment of insight, it was Zoltan Kull who suggested that a human might be able to contain the demon's essence, using the shard as a conduit to his body. Kull believed that a mortal heart would serve as a kind of surrogate soulstone. When he said that they would need a mortal vessel to bind Baal within, to wrestle the demon for all eternity, a silence fell over the mages. An instant later, it was Talrasha himself, their beloved leader, who stepped forward to make the awful sacrifice. Jared Kane's notes suggest that Tyrael then appeared and whispered to Talrasha, "Your sacrifice will long be remembered, noble mage." He then led the men through the subterranean tunnels into the burial chambers of long-dead kings. There, deep within one of the largest tombs, the Horadrim built a binding stone etched with runes of containment, held fast to the chamber's walls by unbreakable chains. Talrasha then ordered his brethren to chain him to the stone. As the other mages looked on in sorrow, Tyrael approached and jammed the golden shard into Talrasha's heart, transferring Baal's essence into the mage's body. Sorrowfully, the Horadrim sealed the chamber and left their brother behind to wrestle with Baal's writhing spirit, presumably for all eternity. With the loss of Talrasha, Jared Cain became the leader of the Horadrim. He and his surviving brethren followed Diablo's trail of terror for nearly a decade. Their hunt took them to the distant western lands of Honduras, where Diablo was finally confronted and ultimately imprisoned within the Crimson Soulstone. This time, the Soulstone worked properly, and the demonic essence of the Lord of Terror was trapped. The stone was then hidden within a labyrinthine cave system near the river Talzad. Tyrael appeared before the Horadrim a final time and commended them for having achieved so great but so bitter a victory. He declared that the site must be guarded for all time, lest the Lord of Terror someday walk once more among men. The Horadrim who remained built a small monastery and a system of catacombs within the caves. There was much debate as to what the order should do at this point, having received no further guidance from Tyrael. Jared commanded that records be kept. Rules of conduct were devised, and the rudimentary formalization of the Horadrim order began in earnest. It can then be presumed that some returned to the homes they had left so long before, while others continued to carry out their dire mission, seeking out evil in its many incarnations and standing as guardians against the forces of darkness. Regardless, the fundamental nature of the Horadrim order changed at this time, as its members transitioned from being a diverse band of warrior mages to a society of stoic academics, with the notable and dark exception of Zoltan Kuhl. And thus ends this week's Sanctuary Sunday. I hope you enjoyed the tale of the Dark Exile and the hunt for the Prime Evils. If you did, I would appreciate your subscription to my channel, talk to me on Twitter and Facebook that I linked below, watch me live at twitch.tv/ddz, and I'll see you guys next time.